time to time, and at the end, the final performance I saw, they were doing their openings and their closings without notes, and they really improved, and I think that if they keep this up, that one day soon they're probably going to be representing us at the state level. So let me call forward their participants: Nicholas Wiltsey, William Mistretta, Aurora Sheen, Alyssa Raimondo, John Schmelzer, Caitlin Kinberg, Lindsay Rhodes, and Carrie Davis, who is not present today. I didn't mean to leave the teacher and coach, attorney coach out, so you got to come forward as well. And I do present this on behalf of the Jamestown Bar Association.
You have to skate around the room.
Congratulations.
Allison, too. I'll take the camera picture for you. Yeah, we need you inside. Yep, I will. Inside the pole. There we go. And Bev, we need you over real close. There we go. I don't want to take a couple. It's recording.
As a profession, when you sit on that committee, as Jeff knows, and Marilyn and Steve Abdella and Mike and Chuck and others that are on our committee know, when we find out about people, it's really incredible how much community service attorneys do, and I don't think that necessarily they get credit for it. Usually it's kind of behind the scenes, but I think as a profession, we probably do more community service than most any other profession, and it often doesn't get recognized, which is how this award came to be. It's my great pleasure today on behalf of our committee and my co-chair Marilyn to present the Community Service Award for 2009 this year to Bob Van Everett. I sort of called the secretary and said, can you give me some information about Bob, because we were looking for people that we knew were involved in the community, but they kind of did it quietly, and we wanted to present different people to the committee, and I appreciate your sort of sneaking around and getting me that information. And when we finally got the information, as often happens in our committee, it's kind of stunning when you look at the breadth of community service that Bob has given very quietly over a long period of time. I'm going to read some of this, and these are just highlights of his community service over the years. Bob has been a practicing attorney, I think I got this right, since 1975? Long time. And he's been active almost that entire time for over 30 years as a board member of the Jamestown Audubon Society, serving as a board member for 12 years and a member of different committees there. He's also been a member and past president of the Faulkner Lions Club for over 30 years. He's been part of the Lions Club Cleanup Pride Day Committee. He's been the chairman of the Village of Faulkner Pride Day Planning Committee for 15 years, a member of the Carroll Lodge chapter of the Masons, which we know does incredible work in our community, for over 30 years, a member of the Faulkner Business Association for over 30 years, a member of the Jamestown Concert Association for 5 years, a member of the JBA Real Estate Committee for 10 years, the Bylaws and Finance Committee, pro bono legal advisor to the Chautauqua Watershed Conservancy since its inception in 1990, been a pro bono legal advisor to the Chautauqua County Hazmat Team for 20 years, and has acted as a pro bono legal advisor for CASA of Chautauqua County since 2004, and I'm sure there's even more. This is a very well-deserved award, and on behalf of the Bar Association, now you can come up, Chuck, and now you can come up, Bob. On behalf of the Bar Association, on behalf of our Public Relations Committee, it's my great honor to present the 2009 Community Service Award to Bob Van Everett.
Thank you. I'll try to keep this short. Good afternoon. I am honored to be seated with Stan Lundine today, whose contributions to this community, to the county, to the state, to the nation, certainly far surpassed anything I've done. Stan, congratulations to you. It has been said that no man is an island, and that is certainly true of we attorneys. Our success is so dependent upon the quality and the support that we receive from our staff. In that regard, I would like to thank Carmela Klein, my secretary, for her support over 20 plus years. And again, no man is an island. The example that I have striven to follow in terms of community service was set by my parents. I remember as a child all the meetings that both my parents went to, not just my father and my mother. They set an example that I have striven to follow. I don't know how successfully, but I think their commitment to community, to church, to school, to the village of Faulkner, was a shining example of how a life should be lived. I'm also honored to be seated to my wife of 33 years, Judy Clare. Yes, it is Saturday. I did remember. Without her support, of course, my work in community service would not have been possible. And despite all the trash talk and cheap shots that circulate on television and the internet, I feel honored each day when my clients come in, reside their trust in me to represent them to the best of my ability. There are few other professions which have institutionalized the concept of public service as has the legal profession. There's no Medicare, there's no Medicaid that pays a lawyer's bill for the time they contribute to the community and to the people in the community. I would suggest that I'm privileged, yes, to have been able to donate my time and my expertise to the Chautauqua Watershed Conservancy, to the Jamestown Audubon Society. But I would also suggest that every attorney in this community has donated on a pro bono for the public good basis to the betterment of this community. Many attorneys have devoted their time to prepare a set of bylaws or draft a certificate of incorporation for a corporation, or have sat on the board of directors, or have taken some person's, individual or family, which is confronted with a legal issue which they are incapable of dealing with from an expertise standpoint, or incapable of paying for. Attorneys in this community have stepped forward, have served that individual or family for the public good without expectation of payment. So I take this award not just for myself. I take it for Chuck, president of the Bar Association. I take it for every attorney in Jamestown. So thank you. Thank you.
Lundine to come up, if I could. Pete, you keeping notes for next year?
I'm pretty sure it's on video.
We consider it an honor and a privilege to present my brother-in-law, Stan Lundine, as one of this year's recipients of the Community Service Award. Just like Bob, his community service has been under the radar. You know, we all know about his political career, his legal career, but you may not know how he became interested in a political career. My wife, Stan's sister, and Stan, actually, when they were children, they went out west on a family vacation. And they stopped at this very picturesque desert location. My wife decided it would be a good idea to take Stan's picture. So she got her camera out, had Stan stand in a particular place, and then said, back up a little bit. No, a little bit to the right. No, back up a little bit. A little bit to the right. Back up a little bit. A little bit to the right. At that point, he backed smack dab into a cactus tree. Since then, he has been a forward-thinking Democrat. Barb, it's all because of you. Stan serves on the Board of Trustees of Chautauqua Institution, Board of Directors of the Robert H. Jackson Center, the Vestry of St. Luke's Episcopal Church. He's a prior chair of the Fredonia College Foundation. Most recently, he completed his term as chairman of the New York State Commission on Local Government Efficiency and Competitiveness, and he is also a member of the State Partnership for Universal Healthcare. And at this point, I'm going to turn this over to Mark. Stan, as you may know, has 2 children. Mark, of course, being one of them. And John, his other son, happens to be in the Dominican Republic for some reason, I think work-related or something. So Mark, on behalf of Stan's 2 children, would like to say a few words.
Thanks. I didn't know this was going to be a roast. I wasn't prepared. So. I just wanted to say, you know, we're always appreciative of looking at our dad as such a great role model for community service. And much like Bob, you know, we feel like the example that they set have kind of led us to where we are. My brother is so committed to it. He actually works for an organization called Save the Children. You know, couldn't do a little bit more important things, John. Hello. But, you know, we're just proud of the lifelong community service our dad's committed to both this area and the state and our country, and just are happy to be here to honor him.
One thing I'd like to say is I think Stan's major contribution to our community is the respect that our community has gained due to his public service. He has represented our community and served its interests as mayor, congressman, and lieutenant governor. Therefore, it is my honor and it is my privilege to present to you one of the 2009 Community Service Award winners, Stan Lundine.
Thank you, and thank all the members of the Bar Association. I didn't prepare any remarks. I didn't know whether I needed to acknowledge this or not. And you're always in trouble when a recovering politician stands before you without a written text. But I will attempt to be brief. Thanks, Mark, so much for being here, and Mike for your collaboration. And I think it's really appropriate that you do this event, which I've attended in other years, and honor the legal secretaries, because they are so important. And even though I don't practice law, they're still important to me, I want to say. Really glad that Debbie and Cindy and Kathy are here, because I do hang out at Soter and Goldman. You can find me there, but you can't find me practicing law there anymore. And please tell the Office of Court Administration that if they should ask. I did practice here in this community for 5 years, very actively. When I was elected mayor, I naively thought that perhaps I could continue in some way, but Chuck Hall and I spent quite a few hours in the old City Hall in those early days, and practicing law and serving the public was not an option. They doubled my salary, actually, after the first term. The first time I was elected, it was $10,500, but they actually doubled it so that I didn't have to practice law. I could be a full-time mayor, which is very nice. It's just great that Mark can be here. He is, as he commended his brother, also involved in service to the state of Ohio, and we're proud of both of them and delighted in our daughters-in-law. Sarah is been my partner and is so important, and it's just a delight to have her with me always, but particularly on an occasion like this. The Jamestown Bar Association is really outstanding, and what you do, what's already been said, I won't repeat, I think is terribly important. I see it here at the Jackson Center. Robert H. Jackson was a paragon in our profession and somebody that I think is appropriately honored, and Greg has done so much to make this, not just this place, although this place is debt-free, right, Greg? and it's magnificent. But the program that we have brings to people's understanding worldwide how important justice is, and that Justice Jackson, came out of the Jamestown system. I don't know whether he was involved in a moot court exercise or not, but he would have been if he would have had the opportunity when he went that extra year at Jamestown after graduating from Frewsburg. This is a great organization, and I deeply appreciate your honor. It's it is just instinctive with me. It's not as though I'm making a great sacrifice to be involved either on the board or in some other fashion with these kind of activities. And finally, I'll say I am thankful for all of this and all of this background and family and friends, but I'm also thankful that I'm not in Albany anymore.
We'd like to thank the Robert H. Jackson staff, board of directors for allowing us the pleasure of having our event here. We hope to continue this long tradition. Our business partnership with the Jackson Center has been an outstanding one. They've bent over backwards to help the bar. Greg, please convey our thanks to the board of directors. I also like to thank Diane and her staff from Sandy's Bakery for one heck of a lunch. I could have a round of applause. Goes without saying, since you get 100 emails from Candy Johnson, that none of this would have happened without Candy Johnson's assistance. It's Candy's show, and boy, did she run a heck of a show today. Thank you, Candy. At this juncture, I have the pleasure of acknowledging with a certificate of appreciation from the Jamestown Bar Association legal secretaries that have hit, we call them seminal critical years. I just will read their names off, and we'll put the certificates up here because I caught hell once when I invited all the secretaries to come up and pick up their certificates. They prefer not to do that. So I'll just read your names and the years we're talking about. We acknowledge you at 5, 10, 15 years of service, etc. For 5 years of service, Sheila Turner. Sheila, want to put up your hand at least? There you go, there's Sheila. For 10 years of service, Carol Snyder. Carol? For 15 years of service, Tanya Tabor. Tanya? For 20 years of service, Gail Jackson. Gail? For 25 years of service to the legal community, 25 years, Wendy Bell. Wendy? And for 35 years of service, our hats off to Cindy Nelson. Cindy. Okay, we have 2 orders of business left. Actually, they're one part. We need to do a brief business meeting. I'd like to call to order the Jamestown Bar Association and ask for a motion to approve the minutes. Mike Goldman, a second, please. Who's waving back there? Cindy Peterson. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? How about a financial report? I'm going to submit the financial report as written to the bar. If there's any questions, I would direct them at another time to Tom Rankin, so we don't have to use up our guest time today. You already have a report as to the status of projects. Pete, a lot of them are still not done, but they're in the works. We tried to finish as much as we can. Pete will pick up and report on the status of projects at the fall meeting. Without further ado, we need a nomination and election of officers motion.
I move the slate.
Bob?
I move the slate.
Bob Van Every moves the slate of officers, which would be Peter Johnson as president, Tom Rankin as vice president, Julie Hewitt, secretary treasurer, and Ken Lasker as program chair. And would I have a second for that motion, please? Mary Hoydu is the second. All in favor?
Aye.
And nays? Nobody's saying it. Pete, you're up. It is with unbridled pleasure that I it's a pleasure to hand over the presidency of the bar. Good luck.
Well, thank you. Well, I want to take a moment to say a few words about our outgoing president. I didn't know whether we get to talk about either the follow-up list or the status report on projects from the 08-09 term, but I won't belabor it at this point. But to summarize, if you guys can't see it, there's about 20 projects that Chuck has overseen during his leadership. It's probably one of the most ambitious agendas that I've seen during a particular term. For all of us who know Chuck, that ambition shouldn't come as any sort of surprise. Just to set expectations at an appropriate level, I can commit that we will have a picnic in the upcoming year. But Chuck is the consummate doer. I kind of think of him as the lawyer version of an Energizer bunny or something like that. And the great thing that I've learned a great deal from Chuck is that he doesn't just start projects, he's amazing at following through to see whatever he starts through to completion. I was thinking about embarrassing him and telling him some stories, but in the interest of time and sparing Chuck and not turning it into a roast, I'm gonna save it. But beyond sort of Chuck's tireless energies and dedication to getting things done, I think that if you look through the list of the programs and the accomplishments of this past year, you can see through those things to see sort of a larger vision, which certainly has worked towards the greater good of both the JBA as well as for the individual membership of the JBA. So obviously I want to thank Chuck on behalf of all of us here today for his service during the last year. And I did want to mention in conclusion that in no way are my comments influenced by the fact that he writes my paychecks. With that said, I'd like to honor Chuck with the gavel.